All right, we're going to go ahead and start the Wood Village City Council meeting July 14th to order. Councilor Minor, if you could read the land acknowledgement, please.
Be happy to. The Chinookan peoples, known as the Clackamas and Cascades, are the indigenous people in the land now inhabited by the city of Wood Village and other areas of the Columbia River. The village of Nechakli was located near today's Blue Lake Park. Ancestral life of these people included seasonal round of resource gathering, stewardship from the Wapato fields, and fishing areas of the Columbia River to the cedar and huckleberry gathering areas in the high Cascades. Introduced disease in the early settlers to dramatically reduce the number of these people. They signed the Willamette Valley Treaty in 1855 with the United States government and were forcibly removed to the Grand Round Indian Reservation. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and protectors of these lands since time immemorial. We also acknowledge the systematic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many indigenous and Native American peoples today. We are honored by the collective work of many Native nations, leaders, and families who are demonstrating resilience, resistance, revitalization, healing, creativity, and we are honored to be guests upon these lands.
Thank you. If you would stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag back that way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Today we'll be reading a proclamation for Community Health Worker Week. Proclaiming August 24th through 28th, 2026 as Community Health Worker Week, whereas community health workers are the frontline public health workers that are trusted members of the community in which they serve. Whereas community health workers have unique, intimate understanding of the communities they serve and that their understanding enables them to build trusted relationships, serve as liaison between communities and much needed health services, improve the quality and cultural competency of service delivered, increase treatment capacity, and understand areas of improvement, community health worker knowledge, and individual self-sufficient through a range of activities such as outreach, information, counseling, coaching, social support, and advocacy. Where community health workers are recognized with a professional certificate in growing numbers of the United States of America, and whereas community health workers are historically workforce that goes back hundreds of years in the United States and reflects the diversity that makes this country great. Whereas community health workers have been known by many different titles, including community health representatives, promotores de salud, aunts, peers, and outreach workers. Whereas community health workers are a cross-sector workforce that connects community members to healthcare and other social services, reducing barriers to health and well-being. And whereas community health workers are a proven workforce with decades of research documenting effectiveness and materials in child health, chronic disease, intervention, immunization, oral health, HIV, primary care, and many other disciplines, and document returns to investment of many programs. And whereas sustainable funding and community health workers support fair market wages and enhance recruitment and retention and workforce development. Whereas community health workers fulfill a wide range of roles that include facilitating, providing cultural approach, coordinating care, advocacy, building community capacity, providing direct services, implementation, and practice in evaluation and research, where community health workers network are statewide, regional, and local associations or coalitions with leadership and memberships composed of at least 50% community health workers, and who activities include training, workforce development, mentoring, and initiatives supporting community health workers. Now, therefore, the Wood Village City Council joins the legislation across the state of Oregon in proclaiming August 24th through the 28th, 2026 as Community Health Worker Week. Thank you to all those community health workers out there. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to citizen comments on non-agenda items.
Just wanted to do a quick scan of the audience first. I figure most of them are here for other purposes. Nothing specific to relay in. I do want to make note of, we've had some difficulties with our splash pad, I think I'll just call it this season. Different component parts and it'll work and then it doesn't. We have a workaround going on right now thanks to, again, our public works field team, Becky, Erica. It's working and we basically were ordering from A to Z those component parts. So hopefully it all just works, but we don't want to touch it again until we get all those parts in. So the workaround works, but it's been tricky this year, just throwing that out there.
Great, thank you, Gray. Now we'll go ahead and go to public safety report with our chief.
Morning, Chief, or afternoon.
Good evening.
It's
So public safety report for the month of June. Obviously, it was a kind of a busier month, I guess. We had the one big call, the shooting at Fred Meyer, which I think you guys are all aware of. And then there was also a motorcycle crash on Gleason that I think got plugged in as Wood Village. It maybe should have been Gresham, but it got plugged in as a Wood Village call and our vehicle crimes team took it. But a motorcycle crashed into the back of a car at 3 a.m. doing like 80, 90 miles an hour. And, it was a fatal crash. So just nobody else was injured, just the rider. So fortunate, but nobody else was hurt, thankfully. And then obviously with the shooting, the suspect was, apprehended very quickly, like minutes after, and with the assistance of Gresham PD. So it's really good. We all worked really well together, and the major crimes team took the rest of the investigation over. Other than that, though, there were 306 calls for service, and 147 of those were self-initiated. There were 14 crashes, which is kind of on par with the average monthly. Other than the one motorcycle crash, everything else was minor fender benders, parking lot type stuff that we see every month. And that's about it. Any questions or anything?
Questions coming by the council?
yeah, and that shooting was this is our first meeting since that shooting, I think. Maybe
Yeah.
because I'm going to restate something that
First shooting since, first meeting since June that we had
Yeah.
our chief here.
Yeah,
Well,
I think I saw you at the dinner.
at the
Out-
dinner. Okay,
out
good.
back, but-
Well, I want to
The incident occurred like after our council meeting had ended, where
Yeah.
we had the chief at that one.
Well, then I want to restate what I told you at the, because I know I've said this sometime to some of us here, but my wife and I happened to be just coming back from dinner, and we were pulling into the parking lot in Fred Meyer's, and we were going to go to Pickleberry to get a little yogurt dessert. So obviously I saw that there was a serious incident there, and recognized it as, at that point, and still investigated. And we talked to 3 individuals, and because we stayed there and we got some Pickleberry, but 3 individuals independent of each other. And the one thing they said immediately to me is Multnomah County Sheriff showed up almost like instantaneous. And they were all very complimentary of what took place up there. And I don't know if Gresham was back up or not, but I saw the county units there. But I wanted to say that because there was, and several of them were shaken by it. And there were 2 young ladies that I talked to that were shaken by it, but they said, just what I said. It was really nice to see the county there, almost like I said, instantaneous. So just kudos, and we can't control shootings, and we can try to be safe and respond, and it certainly handled well from my perspective.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It was very quick. There were several deputies there right in the area already, so worked out well.
And if I could just add on to that one, I mean, obviously the investigation is ongoing, but we know, I'll say it wasn't random. So we know that.
Right.
The following day, the mayor and I went out then and talked with the area businesses just again to, how are you doing? What support resources you needed? And again, just reiterate what Councilor Minor said is very complimentary of the response, but also the sheriff's office just in general. Really, I mean, again, Mayor, feel free to jump in, but heard nothing detrimental. And in fact, people were just a little surprised that we were there just checking in, which was a little sad that they were surprised by that.
Yeah, and again, just very complimentary of just the response of the MCSO and then all the resources that you provided to the staff that were directly around the incident of that moment. So I think this stems to the great partnership that you guys continue to demonstrate for our city and our safety. Unfortunately, it wasn't the first shooting that had happened that month, and again, both instances you guys responded quite quickly, and were able to kind of contain the situation. So again, that's always the aftermath that I think is most concerning, when folks don't feel safe after that, the thing happens, and both instances, the community has felt safe. So appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think you guys going out there does go a long ways. They seem surprised because it's not something, most places would do after something like that. So kudos to you guys as well. Appreciate it.
Great. Any other comments? I'll just quickly mention I did it right along with Sergeant White. An amazing individual. If you haven't done one, I do encourage you to do one. It does give you a different level and a perspective of MCSO as a contracting city, but also just how well your system is displayed around, the areas that you guys service. And so even though we have one officer kind of assigned to Wood Village, it's within a network of 7. So, we can have 1 to 7 officers responding to one time, and we've seen it multiple times. And it was an eventful night. It was quite fun, I will say. Gives you a
you said it
different
was busy.
perspective. It was busy. But again, I encourage even community members to, just try that opportunity. It gives you a different perspective, appreciation for our law enforcement. So I appreciate that. All right. No other questions. Thank you, Chief.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll move on to review of bills paid. Any question on what's on the agenda or what was in the staff report? No questions. All right. We'll move on to consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion if there's any questions. If there aren't any questions or edits for the minutes.
Move to approve.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. I think for the part of the evening that most of you all are here for is we have our scholarship awards. This is something that the city of Wood Village has been doing for, I would say, the last 5 years, maybe.
Either 5 or 6. I was
5 or
trying to
6
think
years.
which one
Yeah.
is it?
And, since the time I've been here, it's just kind of interesting to see where we started with how many applicants we typically would see to how many applicants we currently see now, and just kind of, again, the wide range of, post-secondary education the folks are looking for. So it's a great opportunity. I will mention, not saying kudos to us, but I think we're one of the only cities out here that does this. This is not only available for high school graduates, this is available for anyone looking for any type of education. So if you are high school graduate, years removed, and you're looking to go into further education, and you live in the city of Wood Village, this is something available to you as well. It works for trades, so you don't have to go to your traditional college or education institution. So, Councilor Minor, I know you wanted to say a couple words, so.
Well, I don't want to delay the presentation of the awards, so I will say, as the mayor has said, there was even to expand that so that you do share this with people. This scholarship was put together as some might call it a turnaround award or a jumpstart, and it was set aside for our population right here in Wood Village. And we specifically had conversations about perhaps a junior in high school that is struggling and doesn't graduate, but goes back and gets a GED. And that happens. And this scholarship, it was never intended to be decided solely on GPA. It's a broad umbrella and a broad net we're casting with this scholarship. So please share that. And I was on the subcommittee when we put this scholarship together, and it was very clear. We want this to help kids that may not have had a shot. And if we could do something that would give a student that chance to maybe go to Mount Hood or go to a trade, pursue any other kind of training, we want to help those students. So it's always fun, and certainly, Charlene, you were on this selection, this group, but it is certainly one of the funnest things we get to do. So it's nice to see the number of folks there.
Awesome. So we have some certificates with your names on here. So I'll call your names, and then at the end, we'll ask all the recipients to come forward, take a picture with the council. And then from there, you guys are all welcome to stay, but you don't have to stay. And you guys can leave and go do other fun things as well. So the first one we have here is David Rodriguez. The next one I have here is Patty Bautista Marquez. And then the last one I hear is Melanie Barbon Tabares. And can I ask all the recipients to come back up? We're gonna do like a group picture, and then we're gonna get the council as well involved, please.
Gonna come out there.
Congratulations on well-earned opportunity here. Last thing I'll share is that this is not a one and done opportunity. So as long as you're continuing your education, we encourage you to apply again. So next year when this comes available, again, the encouragement is that you apply once again. We don't guarantee anything, but at least it's an opportunity that's available out there.
Well, I know we have one returnee here, right, sitting in front of us. And
Actually, I think two returning
Yeah.
there because there were two additional recipients who couldn't be here this evening, one of whom is actually in Sweden doing, I don't remember if it's like rocket science or satellite trajectory on behalf of her work at MIT. So if you want to feel inadequate,
Did you, if you could come here to the microphone, please? Por favor.
Thank you to the City of Wood Village has taken part in bringing in our community, especially as a parent. Very expensive and
Yeah.
every bit helps. And I know my. Yo les estoy dando las gracias por hacer la. You guys are motivating our students with whatever they want to do in the future. It's a big motivation. Thank you so much. I just want.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. On the side note, I mean, we'd love to stay in contact with your guys' journey as you continue to move forward in this. So please feel free to reach out, share any stories, pictures, and again, I think this is exactly what the goal was when this was initiated back in that time. So again, appreciate you all and thank you guys.
You're George Fox, is that correct? Yeah, I remember that. So I hope that's going well. All right, very good. Well, and the other recipients come back and see us next year.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on with Resolution 17, 2026, waste management rate increase.
thank you, Mayor and Council. Let me share the screen. Had a fun graphic for this one. All right. So yes, this is a waste management rate adjustment resolution. So just a bit of background about waste management and what the service it provides to the city. So waste management does have a non-exclusive franchise agreement for the provision of removing solid waste and recycling in the city. That franchise agreement allows waste management to have a 10% rate of return or 10% profit margin. Waste Management came to us a year ago for a rate adjustment, both for increased disposal costs and some operating increases. This year, it's all driven by disposal costs. So Metro's increased its tipping fees by $14.56 a ton. For context, last year, it was like $8.50, maybe 51 cents. So this year, their tipping fees, way beyond what they did last year. Part of that was driven by the Solid Waste Modernization Act, and that was done in 2021, and it was a rollout. Side note on it, there is a lawsuit from, I believe it's more distributors and manufacturers around that legislation. It's in federal court right now. Don't worry, Christy. That's all I'm going to mention about it. You don't need to say anything because we're not party to any of it. There is also what I've learned about Metro and its solid waste division. It's had a very tough economic year. What they call it, they're saying this is like, recession related revenue streams. Not that they're saying we are one or whatnot, but their rate of return was like it's in a recession, especially with the different construction solid waste that tends to come in and can bring in good revenue. They're just not seeing that. So part of the reason for the larger increase. And then yard debris disposal increased 10% as well, not done by Metro, but a different facility. So Waste Management is just looking to cover those increases. And as all of their increases are, it's not a flat percent because it's based on weight, because everything's by tonnage. So kind of the more you use, the more that rate goes up proportionately. So for Wood Village, the most common residential service is a 35 gallon, and you'll see there it's going to go up by $1.27 or 3.8%. The next most common is the 64, so it goes up just over $2 or 4.6%. We do have then the relative comparison. So again, if you were in Gresham, your 35 is $45 or almost 60. Pretty comparable to Troutdale and Fairview for those most common ones. It makes sense that we're really very similar to Troutdale because Waste Management also serves Troutdale. So a lot of similarities there. And again, an example of kind of the more common commercial rate collections. What is new, mentioned in your staff report, is it's not just the rate sheet that you'd seen previously, was mostly just kind of some residential and commercial. It's actually Waste Management's full slate of services. So while not necessarily used or currently used by community members, such as like the medical waste, or there's, if you don't have your can at the curb, there's some sort of distance fee, general cleanup. Not a lot of use there, but now it's promoted. We can have those services offered in our city without a special one-off rate or coming back to you all to adopt a rate schedule. The additional, I think, really cool thing that this does is adopt a curbside disposal schedule as well. And that can be whether you're in a, single build home, even if you're in a multifamily environment, if you work with the manager, there's options to, let's say, have a couch. Want to get rid of it. You work with your property manager. So, okay, we're going to get this bill, this additional, amount is going to go to you, person in unit 8, for example. So this is kind of expanding the offering. So looks a little different than in past because it's a little bit larger. But again, now we're getting the full slate of waste management services, whether they're utilized in the city or not, but at least it provides that opportunity and offering. Going to pause right here to allow Mike Jeffries and Dave Huber up. They are from Waste Management. They're here because they can talk a little bit more about their operations or answer any more specific operational questions that you may have. And I'll grab another chair real quick for them.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name's Dave Huber. I am WM's Public Sector Manager. Thanks for having us here this evening. Yes, and I'm Mike Jeffries. I'm the Area Pricing Director and help with setting rates for many different communities throughout the metro area. So if I could just add a few things here, I think Greg really covered most of everything for us this evening. But we do have services here in Wood Village for almost 800 residential customers, 97 commercial customers, and 17 industrial roll-off customers. Out of those 97 commercial customers, 5 of those are multifamily dwellings. Something that we like to report out every year is our customer service and how we're doing on the customer service side of things. And we have seen just if you compare this year to date to last year to date, we've seen a 17% reduction in customer interactions this year compared to last year at the same time. And those could be anything from complaints or compliments to customers calling in. Maybe they had a missed pickup, so forth. So that's certainly a good trend to see when those type of calls are being reduced. And there's also been a 5.6% reduction in missed pickups compared to the same time last year as well. So some good trends there. And then we've also seen a 45% reduction in non-missed pickup interactions compared to last year during the same time. So That could be anything from perhaps a customer calling in for an environmental issue, maybe a hydraulic spill, so forth, those kind of things. So that's really a nice improvement, nice metric to share with all of you this
And
evening.
what's a pickup? What's defined as a pickup?
A missed pickup.
Pickup in general is what you're asking?
Yeah, is it just picking up garbage from a location?
Correct.
Exactly.
Or it could be recycling, it could be the yard debris, any of those, so.
Okay.
So with that, just some good things to share with you this evening. I don't know, Mike, if you have anything else to add.
One other thing too, regarding the expanded rate sheet, the one item on there that I'm really happy to see is our bulky pickup. And obviously, when a lot of people have a need for a bulky item, if they can get it out to the curb, we can certainly take it away at a very reduced rate versus some of these other services that are out there. So we're hoping that's a service that catches on within the city.
Yeah, I wanted to hear more about that. Greg, you said that people can put couches out there in a specific case and then it could be picked up.
Correct. And, I think they're the more authority to say it, but generally it's available any customer. And I believe there are kind of 3 tiers to the right, kind of like smaller item all the way to like your larger items. And I believe there's like, if there's like a refrigerator or a freezer or that type of thing, the ability, like I said, get it to the curb. And while it's not, free or anything, just if you had to rent a truck or, borrow a truck to drive down to one of the area recyclers, pay their minimums, your time, the fuel, it really is very reasonable. I think I'm going to ballpark it at generally around 20 some odd dollars, kind of mid-20s for most items.
It's pretty cheap.
That's true.
Well, that's interesting. And that is a real benefit to the community. We're picking up various items on Wood Village Boulevard. Not that, they probably wouldn't pay $20, but in any event, that's really a plus. So if we can advertise that, we might save picking up our public utility workers having to pick up certain things.
Yeah, it's really a great benefit. We see it as something that the community members want, and it's something that we can easily do. They call in if they have a couch or love seat, end tables, they put it out to the curb, and then we'll pick it up on their.
And so in order to do that, we make the call in and said we have a special pickup.
That's correct.
Okay.
We have a separate truck that picks it up.
Yeah. Well.
And then my question is, kind of when would this rate go into effect?
Oh, I'm sorry, August 1st. It's in my next slide.
Got it.
Because we had certain notice requirements. And so it was, and I'll get to my next slide, but it was posted in the newsletter, asking for any kind of feedback. And certainly if there's anyone this night for the public hearing portion of it, they're welcome to provide feedback. So that's where we had it August 1st, assuming it passes this evening.
And then kind of, as we get other utility providers coming in and understanding, increases are going up, and a question that, we always kind of ask them, what assistance do you guys have for, our low income residents or fixed income residents that, again, as understanding these are kind of pass through increases that Metro is kind of imposing on you all. So kind of what kind of assistance, do you guys have any assistance programs available for community members?
That's a terrific question, because that's something that has really just really started to evolve the last couple of years. We've actually implemented this in about, I think, 3 of our jurisdictions that we service here in the Portland metro area. And so it is something that we'd be more than happy to work with the city on if that's something that you would like us to do and provide that. I know that's the jurisdictions right now that we currently offer that or, this, let's see, Beaverton, Washington County,
Clackamas just passed,
Clackamas County just passed it.
City of Portland.
Yeah, in City of Portland. And they all, for security reasons and, trying to keep things private, the ones that are currently existing, they go through a third party to ensure that, that they, the application
Sure.
is all vetted and we don't see that information. So then all we see is the customers that are eligible for the program. So
I think it'd be good to have just a conversation because the city has some programs and things, and it's for stuff we've heard about, mostly electric bills, our water and sewer bills. It'd be just interesting to know who from what village maybe delinquent or is having, how many people may be having challenges, because we just haven't heard that the solid waste side of utility bills has been a struggle for people, but that doesn't mean that it isn't. We just don't hear about it.
right. And that's something that we could provide, at least, get the data on.
Yeah, I don't need to know names, addresses,
Right.
but hey, there's, some odd, customers who are X months behind or.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good question, Mayor, and
At least having a
appreciate what I'm-
conversation,
But
at
I
least having-
appreciate what I'm hearing here
Yeah.
tonight too.
Yeah.
And just for some context, you all remember when we had when waste management bills were available for reimbursement through the CARES and ARPA funding that was allocated by council for that. I think it was such a small percentage. I want to say we had less than 10 applications in total over a 24-month period.
It was like our lowest, both in volume and dollar amount.
It's not surprising though, in the economy, that you're getting more requests for this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, gee.
The sign of the times here the last 5-6 years. You certainly could. As long as it was cut into some smaller sections, so into the truck.
Or
Would most likely if it was, yes, if it's clean wood, oh, dirty, okay, then it would have to go as just regular garbage.
Just so everyone can hear the question, it was, cool, there's bulky waste for furniture, appliances. What about, wood? And in this case, it was probably more either painted or maybe wrought, like an old, I'll say old fence or something. It sounds like there are options for that. I also know there are, I don't want to call them restrictions, but strict guidelines for more like construction-based materials. And I think that's where maybe we get, I don't say confusion sometimes from community members, what can go just directly, whether it's into a garbage can or maybe curbside versus what needs either additional testing or different certifications before it can. I think that's also where we can work together, especially for our September newsletter, since this rolls out in August. We can put together a really cool, probably maybe even a 2-pager of, hey, here's some new offerings and what you can put in and what you need to do extra for certain things, or just never put these in the garbage.
Right.
And I think as that is a great opportunity, ensuring that the information is at least multilingual, at least Spanish for our community, as we have a high base of Spanish speakers. I think that would be important. Either we can provide a link in the newsletter or just add that as a whole section in there as well. So
Certainly.
Yeah, because we translate the newsletter in Spanish and Russian. I think we have some flexible options for that, but I think the more we can get it out, I think it'll be good for our community and good for you all with reducing contamination and, disposal guidelines.
These rates are way better than taking it to Bro or to Sandy, so
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
No. It's,
no questions.
yeah, and in fact, is a very reasonable increase, given inflation right now. I had a very specific question here that seems to be tracking a lot of people, especially me. The little cans, the little propane bottles, where do you get rid of those? You know what I'm talking about, little camp stoves.
Yeah, the little camp stove,
Yeah,
the little
where-
propane.
Yeah, I've been searching online and I got to drive them down to like Oregon City or Metro there?
Unfortunately, that's probably your best, disposal
ECR?
location. ECR might take those propane tanks. Yeah.
122nd in San Rafael.
Oh, yeah. I know where it's at.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are, those. At Mount Hood?
When Metro does their regional community
oh,
hazard
gotcha.
waste cleanups, they can, it's not just for paint anymore. They do like sharps, medicines, sounds like potentially propane canisters.
Darndest little things, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you. I think we'll go ahead and move on with the rest of the slides here and get you guys
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Council.
All right. So yes, next step. So yeah, if approved, would be effective August 1st, which was in the newsletter. We do need to open a public hearing for any kind of comments. If then depending on the nature of the comments or questions, might be beneficial to maybe have them back up to provide context or answers. And then, if there are alternatives, certainly you can ask for a detailed audit of their rates, rate of returns, request maybe a phase in. The staff recommendation is to adopt it. It does, it is a pass through of what Metro did percentage wise, even dollar wise. Every dollar matters. I'm not saying it doesn't. This is also seems reasonable, especially when you're seeing, and we'll get to our next presentation for utility rates. Other municipals, we're seeing double digit, increases in rates, and we're not in that situation here. So again, it's not that it's nothing. It's also easier to kind of adapt into community members' budgets and try to make some adjustments. So I'm going to pause there for if there are any comments for the public
So
hearing.
we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If anybody has any comments in the audience, you guys can come up and make the comments. Hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
All right, and there's a suggested motion.
All right, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 17-2026, setting new rates for solid waste and recycling services in Wood Village effective August 1, 2026.
First and second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I'll certainly be reaching out to Mike or Dave or whomever they say I need to reach out to for both, talk about assistance, what that need may look like, but also how we can do some rollout of outreach / education about the new curbside piece of it. Because I think that will be a great benefit to the community.
That'd be great. All right, we'll go ahead and move to resolution 18-2026, utility rate increase.
Mr. Mayor, Council, before you tonight is Resolution 18-2026. Motion, a resolution to consider rate increases effective January 1st, 2027. So as you guys know, we adopted our new utility rate methodology with the winter averaging for sewer, with the decreased base fee and more charge for the monthly usage. The idea was that we give people the ability to reduce cost if they want to control their usage. We also consolidated the utility assistance and senior discounts into one program. And as you all know, we added the private utility assistance funds that we were just discussing as part of repurposing the holiday meal program that had been active for 5 years. So with that, here's what was included in your packet and what I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about. The average rate increase for a typical house at 6 units, which each 100 cubic feet of water is 784 gallons. We say the average single family home uses about 6 of those a month. The average increase just for the water and sewer portion of the bills would be about $250 a month. That is, this is what our, this is the index that we use. It's the Consumer Price Index, unadjusted seasonal average for urban areas. You can see we had a couple of years where this was increasing quite a bit. For this year, we do a January to January look. So the increase is 2.4%. So all of the fees that have are attached in the exhibit are increasing 2.4%. That's the base fee, the variable fee, the street fee. And the reason why we do that is we want to make sure that we don't get in a position where we're falling behind on cost, not putting enough money or saving enough money for deferred maintenance for large capital projects, and then would be forced, as some of our neighbors are, into large multi-year double-digit rate increases that tend to shock the system. So we did the full rate study as part of our SDC update methodology and master plans in 2022. And we feel like we're on a good trajectory financially to avoid any rate spikes. So the other kind of consideration is we had for a couple of years started ramping up the sewer rate to replace the trunk line. We're no longer doing that, and we're seeing how the sealing of manholes is going to go, how much that could reduce our inflow and infiltration into the sewer system, and both lower costs and reduce the need for capacity along that main trunk line that conveys sewer from Wood Village to Fairview to the Gresham treatment plant. We also, when we made that, as you guys know, we pay Gresham for our water treatment. They had years where they were 7%, 14%, 14%, 7%. And those were costs that we didn't build into our rates. We continue to use just the average inflation, which was considerably lower, even though those costs that Gresham was incurring and charging us were higher. So part of the increase that we had been planning got consumed because of those higher treatment charges. And so we're going to wait to see where we land after a year of the inflow and infiltration program. With that, available for any questions that you might have. Again, this is something we try and do every year, effective January 1st, just to make sure that we're not falling behind the cost of actually maintaining the critical systems.
And if I could just add a quick thing about that January 1st, we're seeing most, rate increases July or August for utilities amongst our city neighbors. And it was, this council years ago made the decision that's like peak water consumption time for our community members. They're watering yards, plants, pools, playtime, sprinklers. It's easier to adjust to any kind of adjustment during the lower consumption months. And I just wanted to acknowledge that thoughtfulness as well, that we're a January to January, not July to July, where increases hit during, peak demand. So this is something I wanted to point out and acknowledge, because I think we're the only one that does January.
Any questions, comment by the council? And the only comment I have is, I think the city's done a great job in just looking towards the future and not letting this be a second thought and come to a point where it has to be a drastic increase, as we've seen with other utilities. And that is a bigger impact into our community than we can imagine. So I think taking these small steps, as you said, Greg, every dollar counts, but when it's done thoughtfully, it's a less of a burden than having to do it in such big chunks. And so I think that's important to acknowledge as well, as we see others increase a lot of utilities and quite steeply, just to be able to provide essential services into their community. So just wanted to put that out there.
We're seeing a lot of double-digit water sewer rate increases from not just our neighbors, but the broader region. And it was, 10, 15 years ago, if you do a comparison around the metro, we were on the higher end of that. A few years back, we were more middle pack. I suspect now we're more in the bottom third, as again, just like our philosophy on, streets, you invest when they're still good and can maintain it. It costs less when things just fall apart, or you haven't even been keeping up with inflation, because a lot of the jurisdictions with the double-digit increases went multiple years with no adjustment. So on the one hand, it's like, yay, utility bills are small. At some point that catches up.
And a lot of cities are taking to that method of adopting their yearly increase as well, just because they see and understand that they can't afford to not increase rates, unfortunately, to maintain what service they can't provide and things of that nature. So thank you, Seth. All right, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution 18/2026, a resolution adopting a master fee schedule adjusting water, sewer, and street utility fees.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And carries. Thank you,
Thank you for
Seth.
the work on that, Seth.
We'll go ahead and move on to discussion, fire update.
You know, I'm actually really happy because everyone still stayed. I was like, please stay for this one. It's good stuff.
It's either they hear it now or they'll hear it later, so.
Well, they could get the t-shirt that they heard it here first. All right, so an update on all the East County Fire Task Force work and some other city work on our regional fire solution. So we're gonna do just a real brief recap, high level, kind of going back a little bit, focus more on the recent and upcoming work. So again, for about almost a year now, the four cities, so that's Gresham, Fairview, Troutdale, Wood Village, and Fire District 10 have been meeting to discuss a regional solution to our fire service question. So some of the first work was financial related, understanding, what wasn't the tax sensitivity, but what's in the overall tax bucket. When you look at the complexity of Oregon's property tax system, what could reasonably be collected with, I'll call it a reasonable rate. And it turns out to be in that kind of low to mid 40 range in today's dollars. And that's at a rate of 285. That was used because that's Fire District 10's current rate and tends to be in the ballpark of fire district rates around the region. There is a service evaluation done. There'd been, Gresham had done work. The three cities did our work and study. So we kind of combining all of those thoughts into one, and not really surprising because I have a map that if you just kind of look at it, yeah, there's a station gap in the Wood Village Fairview area, a station gap in the southeast Gresham area. Now, could that be staffed with a medic unit, full engine company? There was some work done by the task force on that. Unfortunately, I think it got lost on some people, but it really showed a lot of activity in this northern portion of the service area. So kind of between Station 74, Station 75, there's just a lot of calls. So it seemed to make sense, kind of want a full station in this area. And because it's not because the southeast portion of Gresham isn't as important, it's a little less dense, still early in its development phasing, could probably get by with a medic unit. Thinking longer term, it would obviously need to be a full station. The group did independent polling and some outreach because, again, Gresham had done work, we had done work, and it wasn't really surprising to us because we've been talking with community for a while on this, but essentially support's hitting about 30% when they put a dollar figure to that. So that doesn't pass. That doesn't mean, all is lost. Just we need to understand the why. And the second bullet point, it's not general mistrust of us as Wood Village, but just government itself, government blow, taxes and fees are too high, just general broad sentiments that are challenging. When we can have those 15, 20, 30-minute conversations with people, you can see them start to think differently and see the problem we're facing. So as options for this, it's essentially brand new district, or the most probable for existing districts would be Fire District 10 or Clackamas District 1. Yes, there are other fire entities such as Portland Fire, TVF&R. Probably unlikely they'd be interested, whether it's because of geopolitical boundary, that type of thing. So here is a map of this current stations in the system. This would be a new one in that Wood Village Fairview area. This is that new one kind of in the southeastern Gresham portion area. And so if you were to remove this one and this one, there's some obvious gaps in coverage, and that matters because response times. So recent work that was done from the task force was a focus group. It was done on June 27th. The research firm used its kind of polling network to basically kind of random select community members. So trying to get that general makeup of a community. There's a separate session just for Gresham, quite a large city, and a separate session for the 3 cities. I'm going to focus on generally what the response was for the 3-city focus group, with a caveat of we received the top lines or high-level summary of the focus group work last week, and the full report, which would detail who from what community kind of said what may be more of the Wood Village sentiment. We won't get that for about another week or so. So this is just a very high-level summary, and I'm going to focus on the 3-city group. And luckily, when the question was, is your city going in the right or wrong direction? Overwhelmingly, I think it was 9 participants out of 11 said, yeah, in the 3-city area, we're going in the right direction. Great small town feel, clean, safe, we like it. That's a win. Most folks thought they were getting a good value for their tax dollars in their local government. Now, we'll learn later on, there's a bit of confusion about what property taxes pay for and who that goes to, but we can overcome those. It was interesting. It was about an equal split. The question was, does your local government have enough resource to provide essential services? It was almost split down the middle of yes or no. And so it'll be really interesting to see who from Wood Village said what. I like to believe, because of all of our great outreach and education, there might be a little more informed on that. After a bit of, I'll call it minor education about what a fire district is, how it operates, there's actually quite a bit of support. All of that support and then some went away when price options were presented, and the sentiment was people were feeling like, oh, well, but we're double paying for it because my local government already pays for it today, and it's going to double my property taxes. And what has the city done to control costs? Those were, again, general sentiments. So not really news to us, because we've heard some of those things and been trying to work out how to help educate the community about, one, of the property tax bill they receive, how much goes to the city, and how much goes to the city, all of that, and then some already goes to police, fire, 911. And so we're working on our outreach education website, newsletter, events. We are also on Friday starting our filming that will help create segments of 10, 15, 30, and 60-second segments of, talking about public financing, talking about the fire service and why response times matter, the community impact from a community member's perspective. So we're filming these to post on social media, our website. Once we film it and it goes into post-production, there's also the question, is the cost benefit worth it to then actually put like on streaming services as, commercials? So we're targeting people in Wood Village about this Wood Village question. But again, that one's kind of holding until we actually see, some of the length and, some of the targeted messaging. But that was something we felt is the right step, given we held some open houses, we've held events, and we've kind of saturated what we think we can get out of those topics. So, reaching people in their homes as they're watching a YouTube or a TikTok or Hubble Wuzzle, we're starting to get that message out. And then in terms of the fire task force, the task force won't meet in August. There'll be a subgroup that'll really define the service need. And so, yeah, we say 2 more stations, maybe it's med units, maybe it's not. Well, does it have hazmat? How does it have this, that, or the other? So basically the subgroup's going to work together to articulate the quantitative and qualitative needs of a district. We're not saying it's a new one. We're not saying it's District 10 or District 1, but basically, what does a task force feel we need comprehensively for this area? And Some people at the meeting thought this was kind of a couple steps backwards, like, why are we doing this now, not months ago? And I mean, that's a fair point. It's also, we've had a lot of education on the service demand at the task force meetings, I think helped bring everyone up to speed that we can have intelligent conversations about what is a reasonable service level. The other thing I'm excited about is the union membership is part of this subgroup as well. And, you know, there's a new fire union president. He was very engaged with this last meeting. And so I'm just looking forward to having that union perspective, which will probably be more of the qualitative components of a fire district that are also important. So the subgroup's going to work on this. You know, here's what we want, present it back to the task force to say, yes, that fits the box we're looking for a service. That then becomes basically, if you were to think of it like a request for proposals, that's what you can say, okay, any interested parties, districts, departments, how can you meet this? Because what we saw in May when we received District 10's proposal, not that it wasn't good or thoughtful, it just had, the group had a lot more questions than it had answers to. And we thought this is also a way that can be a framework or template for interested parties to answer these questions of, are they going to provide these services? How are they going to provide the services? Do they provide the service? And what does that mean? And also, what's the relative value of that? And I'll just try to think of a quick example of, let's just say there's a separate outreach team that does school-aged fire education. That's in one of the proposals, but it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Is that worth it? Because maybe a different proposal doesn't have that, but the cost is much less. So we can kind of get that value proposition and try as best as possible to get to apples comparisons of different proposals.
Greg, can I, this subgroup work that you're describing, there was some criticism that you're taking a step back. I think this has been the tough nut to crack, hasn't it? What would a district look like? And to get the 4 cities aligned.
Yeah, we've been dancing around this for months. And, you know, would this have been nice to do in February? Okay. Absolutely. I also don't think individual members or entities were ready for this conversation. Yeah. I'm not trying to say it in a negative way, but like in an intelligent way. Not that the people aren't intelligent, but to have that deeper understanding of when we talk about hazmat, do you know what that really involves in details?
Yeah. Well, that's good news.
Which we have, the task force definitely has like a very good, I would say, working knowledge of a high level view, not of necessarily fire operations, but the components of a fire service.
Okay, so that's good news. We can't move forward until we have some understanding and an agreement on what we want to buy.
And then you can compare proposals to that. And that doesn't mean it has to only include that. There is agreement that, yeah, I mean, some departments or agencies may have some different ideas, like let them have that flexibility to.
There's trade-offs. There's always trade-offs.
Yeah. So again, presented in September. And then the ultimate goal is that the task force makes a recommendation, hopefully November time. So that gives a bit of time for councils to hear about it, think about it, and ultimately make a decision by the end of the calendar year. So we can use 2027 to move towards whatever that direction or decision is. I also want to note, and it put it in the slide, but Gresham had indicated that it's going to be focused the next few years on renewing its operating levy. And it indicated that it could take it as soon as, I believe it was May of 28 and as late as May of 29. And they said, we won't be moving towards any kind of district until after that is done. They felt that doing both at the same time could confound messaging, confuse the public about, well, who's paying for what, what's paying this, that, or the other. So there was, I'll call it a broad level, high level understanding that it's possible for things to be phased and rolled out, which was always a consideration moving into this, if nothing else, because the 3 cities, for example, We have no stations, we have no firefighters, and we have no equipment. So it's different for us to move or transition versus Gresham, which you have the conversation about assets and liabilities and who's taking what and how does that function and work. But ultimately, at the end of this, let's just say Gresham goes one direction for all good reasons. Three cities go another direction for all good reasons. At least everyone's aware of that and on the same page of that and had opportunities to discuss that. So even if at the end of the day, it's kind of a split at the task force level and or at a council level, because task force could say, we like this option A. And that goes back to all the respective councils and nope, we want to go with this over here and everyone else moves. It's half of, I mean, the ideal is we all move together. Another benefit is at least we're all talking about it and understanding of the issue.
I'll just quickly mention that I think this was the first time publicly it was acknowledged that there could be a phase in understanding that, yes, Gresham has more of a heavier lift because of the assets and liabilities that they hold. And so it could be an easier transition for the three cities. But I think that's the first time as a group it was acknowledged in a positive manner and light. And so as folks do think this potentially is a step back, it, like you mentioned, Councilor Minor, it was kind of that thing that we've been trying to get others to look at and have a conversation about, because we've been doing this for 4 years now. And so, you know, for us, it's more time that we're, you know, putting staff effort into doing this. But again, I think it's the right approach. Again, would have this conversation in February would have been better, sure. But I think again, we have parties now that are invested in an engagement matter. Not that they weren't invested before, but it does truly seem that right now the right people are in the right places. So.
Well, you know, you got to get through the resistance, built up resistance before you can move forward. And it looks like that's where you're at. So that is progress.
We had talked at that meeting as well that, you know, there's no playbook for this. Our understanding, whether it's talking to other city managers, even the Special Districts Association of Oregon, something like this, where it's, you know, 3 smaller but similar cities and a very, very large one, all at the same time looking at some sort of regional consolidation, reform, or development. I think never been done before. So yeah, the process is a little squishy, is a little iterative. It should be as we learn more about what do members need to feel informed, engage, and make decisions. We should do that, even if it may feel, ooh, should have done that months ago. Well, we weren't there months ago. So let's focus on, yeah, we're all engaged. We're trying to move this forward. And it's just, again, I think also the acknowledgement it can be phased opens up some intriguing opportunities as well that just, I'm going to say very theoretically, because we don't know what that solution or pathway may be. It's possible, though, that let's just say, hey, cool, I'll say District 10 as an example, came up with a really grounded, functional plan. I wonder if it's possible through the right kind of outreach engagement, instead of doing a levy in May of 27, do we just do a annexation vote maybe that November? So I think there's still some options there, both, you know, for our community, for you as a council staff, to weigh in as we get those proposals and really dive into how is this going to look over the next, you know, first year to 5 and 10 years down the road, and what's that path towards that.
And I think there's also a consensus that this can't stop.
Yeah.
That, you know, that there is hopefully an end date soon, but it can't stop due to upcoming elections as well. And, you know, staff coming in, you know, the city of Gresham has a new city manager. They're still holding on to, you know, their old city manager as a project manager for this project. But again, that it can't stop. We can't take any moment to derail the work that has been done over the course of a year and a half already.
And I think
or a
that-
year?
Thank you, Mayor, because I think it was also a common thread of, I think from everyone that, yeah, calendar year is kind of the deadline.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean then the work stops. It says then the task force work stops, the work to implement whatever it is decided on, that work then starts and needs to start in earnest.
Yep. It isn't like we got 10 years to figure out how we're going to provide public safety and fire services here. So it's got to keep moving, and that also is a good, comment that the group understands that.
So just one last thing, because, Night Out says Friday, we will have fire headquarters as part of the booth at the Night Out. Just kind of showing what response could look like with an additional station in or near Wood Village. We'll talk a little bit, again, that property tax doesn't cover all of our public safety costs. And if you've already read your newsletter for this month, again, it's more for context. We're not saying we're better or worse than anyone else, but again, how other areas they decide to implement fees or levies. We haven't yet, but I stressed on the yet of that. But again, as we're still flushing out what this pathway may look like, there's a couple options for that, but trying to engage people in, yeah, this will cost more and we're trying to get more. There'll also be an opportunity if people have, a story they'd want to share about their experience with like fire or emergency medical systems. Like, yeah, my child was choking and I was, debating whether to call because it's going to take too long or just, take them to the hospital. Kind of those stories to humanize and localize, our outreach campaign. So that'll be an option. They'll also be there filming like we're doing the community-based CP. All those good things. So
Any other questions about fire update? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and move to city attorney report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening. No report from me today.
Awesome, thank you. We'll go ahead and move to mayor and council comments. Any comments by the council? No? I know Greg mentioned it, but I'd just like to remind everybody, we have our city night out this Friday, July 17th at the Wood Village Baptist Church from 5 to 8 p.m. Greg mentioned, we'll have fire headquarters. It is kind of an extension of the celebration of the city of Wood Village's 75th birthday also. So there's a little extra fun stuff.
historical
added to it.
trolley tour. So we partnered with, I think it's Sasquatch Lines. They mostly run the Gorge Shuttle. They have like a trolley that'll go around the city, and with the partnership of the Choctaw Historical Society, we'll do kind of historical talks about the different parts of our city. I think it's about a 20-ish minute little drive. So there'll be kind of a waiting area and it'll just go, I think last calls, around that maybe 7:20-ish time frame. We also have, I think, something really cool planned for Public Works to really engage, I'd say youth, hopefully families, in what not to flush down the toilet. And I think, I don't want to spoil it, I want to wait. But we had really cool engagement from our field team, Erica. I mean, it's really excited about the enthusiasm that our field team is bringing just to the overall team. And then again, this opportunity for outreach with our community.
Well, that's a pretty good teaser.
Oh yeah, it's good. I ordered stuff today that I didn't think I'd ever order for the city.
Really?
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, Greg. Last thing is our next meeting is Tuesday, July 28th. With no further comments.
I've got two.
Go
if
for
that's
it.
okay. One, we had the night out reminder. The mayor and I are doing a chamber chat here tomorrow morning at 7:30. If
Right.
anyone wants to be up that early, we're kind of doing, it's not really a the chamber's calling it state of the city. We're just kind of doing some recapping, talking about, our recently adopted budget, what's going on development wise, and then spending most of the time talking about fire, especially since I know the Chamber of Commerce is interested in kind of the regional public safety stuff going on. So I thought that'd be a great opportunity. And then my last thing, I talked to the mayor about this last week. I will have more details for you all at your next meeting, especially with our other counselors present. I will be needing to take a leave of absence, probably for a bit, 3 to 5 weeks, probably. I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay, so that'll be next meeting or,
Yeah.
yeah. It's chamber, is that the Columbia Gorge?
Yeah, West Michigan Gorge Chamber of Commerce. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing to do. Keep them in the loop.
We'll try. Okay, any other comments? Once, going twice. All right, we are adjourned.